Jamarmaz for JM Media. Eddie, that was a really fun fight to watch. It was a bit of a slow burner, but once it got going, it was really exciting. A lot of momentum for Jack Catterall in the later rounds, and he had Regis badly hurt. First of all, what did you make of that? And then you put forward to the fans the idea of Teofimo coming to Manchester, which we'd all love to see it.
Yeah.
How realistic is that?
I mean, firstly, you know, obviously, we all want always a firefight, don't we? And after 3 or 4 rounds, I'm kind of thinking, oh God, this is cagey. I mean, I don't mind watching fights like that because I find it quite fascinating. But obviously, you've got however many 8,000, 9,000 in there just want to tear up. And all of a sudden, the knockdown comes. Was it the 5th, or it starts to get a bit juicier in the 5th? The knockdown comes, and it changes the trajectory of the fight. And actually, probably at the halfway stage, I did very close. Might have even had Regis just edging it with a knockdown. And then all of a sudden, Jack just changed the fight. And I think that, you know, that switched up the excitement levels. You could see how heavy-handed Regis was even early in the fight. I think that got Jack's attention. And he had to be switched on. Obviously, the knockdowns came in the 9th. You know, he won 10, 11, 12. I think he won 8 as well. And you've got to give a lot of respect to Regis because he was badly hurt. He turned his ankle over. He could hardly walk in the last couple of rounds and just never stopped trying. And, you know, he said after, this is the best guy I've ever fought by a mile. And I think Jack Catterall is one of the most underrated fighters in the world. I think sometimes the style, you know, to the sort of casual eye, they don't necessarily realise how good he is. Because he doesn't scream and shout, and he doesn't, it's a bit like Liam Paro. Like Liam Paro is a sensational fighter. But just because you don't scream and shout and backflip here and do all this kind of stuff, and you know, with regards to Teofimo Lopez, like I said, we'd love to spank him, but he's a very good fighter, and he's a massive star. And I doubt he would come to Manchester, but it'd be some night, wouldn't it? God, imagine bringing Teofimo Lopez to the UK. It'd be brilliant. And you know, that was a WBO international. Jack is sitting at number 2. I think hopefully it's going to move him closer to that number 1 position. And who knows what Teofimo's going to do? I see him probably moving up to 147. He's got a legal dispute with Top Rank. Maybe Jack fights the winner of Barboza against Ramirez for the vacant title. But we do have 2 guys fighting for the IBF World title on December the 7th in Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchens. So, you know, can we bring that World Championship fight here? Obviously, Liam Paro is going to say, well, what about Australia? Which is something that we'll look at as well. If Hitchens wins, he's going to say, what about New York? Which is something we'd look at as well. So Jack's in a great position, but when you look at his 11 months in Linares, Taylor, Prograis, you know, all headline fights, he really does deserve a shot.
Tom out of his boxing scene. Just wanted to ask you about Campbell Hatton. Obviously, 2 defeats in a row to Flindell, and kind of at that English title level. Where does he go from here now?
I think that it's difficult because he's very young. So, like, if the guy was 29, 30, you'd say maybe that's your lot. But when you're enjoying what you do, and I think right now, Campbell Hatton's level is area and English title level. That's no disgrace. A lot of fighters don't even reach that level. But obviously, with our stable, where we're looking to take fighters, we don't really work with and, you know, and kind of continuously back after back-to-back defeats, area title and English level fighters. Campbell's a little bit different. 1, because he's a really good kid. 2, because he works his nuts off. And 2, because he's given us back-to-back brilliant fights. And he's still young. So Campbell's got to look at himself and say, if that's my level, am I happy to continue? And if he's happy to continue, he should absolutely continue. You know, whether that's to go and get a couple of fights on, you know, smaller shows and without the pressure of the, I mean, he ends up being co-main event tonight, again in front of like 8,000. It's not easy, and a lot of people thought he won the fight. I you know, went in the change room after, and I said to Ricky thought he edged the fight, and I said, in my opinion, thought you lost 6-4. But I'm going to give you my honest opinion. But when it's 6-4, it can go either way. But you know, again, he gave us a brilliant fight, but he just wasn't good enough, and he's not really progressing. You know, the performance wasn't really much better, in my opinion, than the last performance. But he's young, And if he's enjoying the game and wants to stay at it, then he absolutely should.
Hi, Regan Staymaker of Queenstown Boxing. Were the scorecards, right now, one for me tonight, were the scorecards a little too wide in Jack's favour tonight?
Yeah, I think so. I think one was particularly, I can't really remember, but I had Regis Prograis winning 2 rounds plus the knockdown round. So a 10-8 round, and I think the first, and then what was the knockdown, the 5th or the 6th? 5th. So the 5th round, the 1st round, and 1 more. I think it was 7, something like that. So again, I mean, obviously it was a 10-7 round. Jack won 10-11-12, obviously. I think 9 was the 10-7. Thought he won 8. Thought it was the 7, I think Regis won. Jack, I thought, won the round after the knockdown, which was the 6th. So you tell me what's the score if it's 10-8 and 2 rounds. Don't know, someone's doing it. But yes, I thought one of the cards was particularly wide.
Johnny here for Hook Boxing. Eddie, do you think it will be tough, difficult to match Jack? Because, like you say, he's not necessarily jumping around at press conferences, but he is so good. Like, for example, Teofimo Lopez. Do you think it will be difficult to make those fights?
Yeah, I think that it will be more difficult to make because he's very good. Do you know what I mean? But if you look at tonight, if you look at the atmosphere, that was all of our first times. I loved it. I thought it was really good. You know, imagine when we fill it up, the atmosphere in here will be unbelievable. So that was a good crowd tonight. Like you're not really outside of AJ and outside of Fury and those kind of guys. When are you seeing, like, don't forget the last fight against Taylor, he did virtually 11,000 in Leeds. You know, over 8,000 tonight. Like, it's solid numbers. So a Teofimo Lopez fight would fill up this place. You know, so it's really all about money. I mean, if Liam Paro wins, he won the world title in Puerto Rico. He's defending it in Puerto Rico. He's probably going to say, hang on a minute, I want to go back to Australia and fight. And Jack would go. And if Richardson wins, he's probably going to say, I want to defend in New York. And Jack would go. But maybe we come up with a number to tempt him to come here. Because he's selling the tickets.
Eddie Hearn here, RTF. Hi. I just want to mention the crowd tonight, the first event in the Co-op Arena. We've had many, many nights in Manchester Arena, the likes of Ricky and Anthony Pollard. Do you think Jack Catterall can make this place a little bit of a fortress over the next couple of years? Because the fans really take to him. He's a lovely guy, as well as obviously having had those great results in the last year.
Yeah, that's what I said. After the fight in the ring, just a really good bloke. And sometimes the Josh Taylor fight allowed him to show that little bit of spite because they hated each other. But with Regis, it's like they just respected each other, and when you bring them together, you're kind of looking for something. But in the end, you just let Jack be Jack, and that's the great thing about him, is he's very real. He's a real family man. He's a real fighter. He'll fight anyone. And yeah, I think, like, let's be honest, what other fighters from this area are going to drive those kind of numbers in there tonight and beyond? The only people that are going to make bigger crowds than Jack Catterall here are the marquee fights. Eubank Ben, AJ, Fury. They're the ones that are going to fill this place up. But as you remember with Crawler, we started with 5,000, then we went to 7, then we went to 8, then we went to 10, and I think Jack's on the same path.
Eddie, can you shed any light on what happened with Michael Gomez Jr.?
Yeah, it was the most bizarre and unique situation I think I've ever seen. I mean, we were sitting at ringside, and Dennis Gilmartin called Frank Smith and said, "Can you and Eddie come backstage ASAP?" And we were like, "Oh shit, that's really bad news," because Dennis would never say that to me. So straight away, there's a problem with the fighter. So Frank Smith went back. He sat with the doctors. When Michael Gomez arrived in the changing room, he fell ill, and he was sort of bent over in pain. The doctors looked at him. They ran some tests. I believe they took a urine sample and did some checks on that sample quickly, and they decided that he had an infection and he wasn't fit to fight. And at that point, you're kind of like, "What? Are you sure?" It's like, "No, it's off, mate. They've completely ruled him out. They said there's no way he can fight." and I've never known it an hour before the fight, to be honest with you. And Reece Bellotti was, quite an epic DAZN interview where he thinks that Michael Gomez swallowed it. I'm not, I don't believe a fighter would swallow it an hour before the fight, having trained for 10 weeks and not getting paid and turned up at the venue. But it's a really weird one. And once the British Boxing Board of Control say, our doctors say he is not fit to fight, there's no way back. But obviously disappointing for Reece. We'll get him another fight ASAP and see what happens with Michael Gomez.
October Red here. Good evening, Eddie. Lovely evening in Manchester. Successful. A lively crowd. Are you going to start to put more shows on in the UK? You could hear the crowd. They were hungry for it. They were there. They were passionate. We want to see more fights from Matchroom in the UK. Is that something that you're looking to do in 2025?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had a good meeting with DAZN at the end of last week, and the strategy is definitely to do more UK shows in 2025. I think we've got a nice finish with Catterall Prograis and Edwards against Yafai, and I think we're already hoping to get 6,000 or 7,000 in Birmingham, which is really good and solid. And I think the success of Riyadh season has really lifted the general interest in boxing. So I think it's a good time. I think that sometimes there's too big a space between shows, and we just got to get the schedule right to make sure that there's regular activity and consistently big shows. We've got 4 or 5 amateur signings to announce in the next 2 to 3 weeks, as well as anywhere between 2 and 4 main event fighters as well that will feature in the early Q1 schedule. So yeah, we're pumped, we're motivated, and obviously when you have nights like tonight and you see that crowd, you realise that British boxing is still alive and kicking.
James Regan from ESPN, obviously the win was the most important thing for Jack tonight, but after that start to see him kind of get a couple of knockdowns and turn the screws, how important was that going into a potential world title fight that he showed it on the biggest stage?
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to grab a world championship fight, you want to look good and you want to be involved in exciting fights. So the first 3 or 4 rounds, I was kind of thinking, I don't want 12 rounds of this. We're in the entertainment business, but also it's difficult when you're in with a world-class operator that can really punch. You're not just going to start jumping in. And the knockdown kind of just kicked the fight into gear. The last 6 rounds were very exciting. The 2 knockdowns were really big for Jack, not just in the fight, but just in the general momentum of trying to get that shot. I think I said in the week, Jack punches a lot harder than people give him credit for as well. And when someone like Regis Prograis says he's the best fighter I've been in with, it's a pretty big compliment, really. And I thought he was great, Regis.
James Shield, IS. In terms of, obviously, the result has progressed Jack's career, but in terms of his knowledge bank, what he'll have learned from that fight, what he's learned from the Taylor fight, how do you think that would have?
I think his IQ is really, really good. I think his jab is very underrated. I think his power is underrated. I think he can fight on the inside. I think he's tough. I think he's got a good chin. I think he's got everything. If I put him in with Teofimo Lopez, if I put him in with Devin Haney, if I put him in with Ryan Garcia, if I put all of those guys, I believe that he's in 50-50 fights with every top name in the division. Another fighter that I think is massively underrated is Liam Paro, honestly. And Paro against Catterall is a very, very good fight. And I think it would be very unwise to rule him out in any fight against any 140 pounder. Because like you said, the knowledge bank of being in with top level guys like that, and one of the criticisms that Regis gave Jack, and I kind of get it, but at the same time, you can't just eradicate someone from your CV. He says, away from Josh Taylor, who have you beaten? He's like, well, I beat him twice. So you can't just use that. That's like saying, well, other than those 6 people on your resume, who have you beaten? So, but now we can add Regis Prograis to that as well. And he can add Jorge Linares, but we appreciate it was at the end of his career, etc. But, it's good to just keep putting that resume together. And You know, if he does fight Liam Potter, he's had 12 rounds against a top 5 southpaw in there tonight. So, you know, he's going to feel like he's got all the experience to mix it with whoever comes next.
I had Don Farrell Sporting News. Teofimo's obviously a dream fight, but it's pretty well documented that he has some fairly big purse demands at times. It's all about bringing him here to Manchester. Do you think that's viable, or is a Teofimo Lopez Jack Catterall fight maybe something that lands on the Riyadh season card?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that we've got to be a little bit careful because obviously we want to maintain nights like that, images like that, you know, where people see the atmosphere, see the crowd, and that's British boxing. So we can't just look to take every headline act to Riyadh season, but at the same time, the aim is to make sure the opportunities are there for Jack Catterall and he's financially rewarded for it as well. So I would like to keep Jack in the UK if we can, but it is unlikely for Teofimo to come to the UK in my opinion. I mean, he's still blaming me for his George Cambosis defeat when we promoted the show at Madison Square Garden. So I mean, if it went 12 rounds, I'd actually leave the arena before the scores were read out if they fall. So, but I don't know what he's going to do. You know, he's obviously got that legal dispute with Top Rank. Is he going to move to 147? If he does, it could open up a vacant shot as well. But obviously, with having those 2 fighters fighting for the IBF on December 7th, that's a clearer shot, I think.
Eddie, just a reflection on the undercard as well. We've had Cormac Nixon and then William Crawler getting an incredible stoppage as well.
Yeah, I think that I'm really looking at that next era, you know, of fighters coming through, because we talk about those headline acts coming to Riyadh season and stuff like that. When you've got Pat McCormack, when you've got William Crawler, when you've got Cameron Bong, when you've got Hamza Uddin, I mean, there's so many of them coming through, and I thought William Crawler was outstanding, very heavy-handed. Joe McGrail as well, great talent. Pat McCormack, outstanding fighter, and Junaid Boston as well. You know, I think he can really fight, and he's 22. And you know, when they did the interview about Ishmael Davis, sometimes I'm a little bit too much of a. I'm just like, just make the fight. And then Junaid's like, I'm 22, I've got a lot of time, and he's right. But I love fights like that. But I think Ishmael Davis against Sam Gilly is a fight that I would love to see if he can win a British title. The fight with Junaid Boston could end up being a big fight in Yorkshire. And as I say that, the main man is here, and Jack Catterall. You know, right hand on God and all that. But congratulations on a great performance from Jack Catterall. And now over to you guys for questions.
I'm not sure if you're me freelance. Jack, first of all, talk to me about the last 12 months, how they've been for you. Obviously, you had the injury. A lot's happened in the last 12 months. Just talk to me a bit about how you assist this year.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a rebirth. I linked up with Sam Jones, who then linked me up with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. And I've gone from strength to strength. We boxed Darryl Foley back in May last year. Since that fight, I've headlined 3 times in the UK. And right hand to God, we're getting closer to a world title.
Jack, hi, Adam here with RTL. Congratulations. He's talked about your 11 months. Against high quality operators, what did you learn there tonight from going 12 rounds of the Regis Prograis?
You know what, I'll watch it back, but I think with every fight now at this level, you learn so much. Regis is a 2-time world champion and he's been in with some of the best, so he gave us some great props at the end. It'll be nice to speak to him. I'll watch it back, I'll speak to Jamie and Nige. And I'm a worst critic, there's always room for improvement, so I'll study the tape and I'll be better.
Jack, how would you just reflect on the fight overall?
6 out of 10.
Aim calmly a few seconds out. Jack, after the fight, Regis called you one of the best fighters, if not the best he's been in the ring with, and he said, we'll give you some tips as well too. What were those tips and what was it like at that praise from Regis when he's been in the ring with some very good fighters?
Yeah, Regis has, like I said, he's been in with a lot of great fighters, so to have them comments after the fight means a lot to me. We've seen this week, it's been pretty boring for Eddie probably, but it was stand-on business and it was just business for me and Regis. There was a mutual respect there. I hope the fight lived up to his expectations. It was a cagey fight at the start. We both did what we needed to do, but there was a lot of credit for Regis after the fight.
Jack, a bit felt like the scorecards were a bit wide. Did you think they were fair, or did you feel like it was a closer fight before the scorecards were read?
I didn't judge it whilst we were fighting, but I'll watch it back. I do feel I won the fight, but maybe not as wide as what I heard from the first guard, and I said that to Regis immediately. There's a lot of criticisms on scorecards. I'll watch it back, I'll score it. It did feel a bit wide, but I do feel the right man got the decision.
There were a few moments as well where you seemed to stun him a little bit. Did you feel like at times there might have been the opportunity to stop him?
Yeah, I knew I carried that power where I'd have to get his respect. When I dropped him, I wish he'd have stayed down, but he didn't. He showed he's a true champion. He got back up and kept on fighting. It was about being sensible. Maybe I could have took more risk, but maybe that would have gone the other way against me. So overall, happy with it, and we'll move on.
Jack, you fought a very good Regis Prograis in there tonight. It wasn't the same Regis who fought Hearn and Catterall. How much pride do you take knowing that you fought a somewhat near his best Regis Prograis?
Yeah, it means a lot. It's I stay in the gym. I've been working for a lifetime's worth of work for all these fights, so it means a lot to me. And Regis is a top fighter, so it feels good.
You're now a headline act, headlining regular outside of obviously like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. You're making sort of Manchester your home in the first boxing event at this arena. It's another sort of landmark moment for you in your career. How special is it?
You know what, I absolutely loved it this fight week, this weekend, having the first headline fight at the Court Live. It was a real honour, and I'd love to go back here and do it again.
October, right back again. I've got a question for Jake Moore. I think it was round number 1. You were very active in the corner. I couldn't hear what was being said in the corner, but it was like you was trying to tell Jack to push forward, get on the front foot more. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it wasn't so much on the front foot, because that's not sort of Jack's forte, and we know how dangerous Prograis can be. It was more about sort of making sure that space was in between, but get his feet a little bit closer, so that when Prograis started to sort of come forward, it could time him into the shots. In all honesty, Jack's we don't matter now. We can talk about it. The fight's been done, but the postponement, the injury from the postponement, has meant that we've not been able to spar properly in this camp as well. But we knew we couldn't put the fight off again, otherwise Eddie would have lost his head. and you know, we had to go through with the fight. And the fact of the matter is, it's very rare that you're ever 100% for the fight. So he's not been able to spar as much as he should have or needed to, but that meant that he wasn't getting his timing as good as he would have early on. We spoke about it at length, saying the first couple of rounds are going to be cagey. At this level, it always sort of is, with the styles what they have. And I thought Jack would eventually time him into a shot, and then all of a sudden it would sort of catch fire. But it was the other way around. Prograis caught Jack. And you know, instead Jack's response was brilliant, and that was the turning point really. When you think about it, if Jack hadn't responded in the way he did, then it could have been a very different night. So I'm proud of him.
Thank you.
This is to Jack, James Shield from IS, but I'll also be interested in getting James' thoughts maybe on this. I know at the end Regis said that he would have a word with you and give you some tips. Explicitly, is that an offer that you would accept? And if you do, what particularly would you want to pick his brains about? Yeah,
Regis has been there and won the world title, so it'd be an honour. We've got time now between now and next year where we could hopefully get away training, we could go to America, get in the gyms and just share some ideas and maybe get to work, do some sparring and pick up some tips. I don't think in boxing you ever stop learning, so I'm always open to learn.
Jack, congratulations. There was talk of a title after the last Taylor fight. It's now been all but promised. Is there an ideal situation? Is there an ideal situation or opponent that you...
Yeah, listen, we know that Liam Parrot's fighting Hitchens. Is that December, the first week of December? So, and we're all under the same banner, so I think fighting against Regis tonight, we knew it was going to be a risk, but that risk put me in a great position to call the shots, and hopefully we get a shot at the IBF early next year. There's 4 other world champions, so I'm open to fighting any of them.
Hi, Jack Catterall, Sport News, congratulations.
Thank you.
To yourself and Jamie, actually, after those 4 pretty cagey hard to score rounds, maybe, to go down for the first time in fighters' magnitude, What's going through your mind then in terms of keeping calm and how you approach the rounds coming up? And yeah, what's going on in your mind?
You know what? I'll watch it back, but it was coming forward with punches, and maybe I caught a glancing blow. I didn't feel buzzed or hurt at any point, so I can't say I felt like I got dropped. Obviously, I went over, touched the canvas, so I got a count. It was about listening to Jamie, the instructions, staying calm, collected, and knowing not to make any mistakes in reacting in the wrong way.
Yeah, I think, am I right in saying that that's the first time you've been down, Jack? Like, technically down?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so, you know, the way he dealt with it, it's a big thing when you've never been down. I was like a yo-yo when I was fighting. I was up and down all the time, so I was used to it. When you're in Jack's position where you control fights and dominate so much, when you're put into that position, it's a test of your character. So it was interesting for me to see his response tonight, because when you get pushed to the point, you know, I'll be honest with you, by the time me and Nigel were talking in the corner, by the time we got halfway, we was going, you can toss a coin here, and to see who's in front. As it turned out, the scorecard was quite wide, but I wouldn't have had any sort of arguments if by the time we got to the end it was 117, 115 or something like that. It was that close, and I said that to Prograis in the ring. I said that those scorecards didn't do the justice to the effort that you put into this fight. Obviously Jack won, but I just think that, you know, moving forward now, Jack, we have to be careful. I think we spoke about it before with Eddie. We have to be careful about the types of styles you match with. And I knew the first few rounds would be cagey, but I knew it would catch fire as soon as someone clipped the other one. You know, moving forward, if Hitchens wins, then of course we're going to go for it. We want to win a world title, but I don't think stylistically it'd be a great matchup, and I don't think Haynes a great matchup because of the way they both fight. Whereas Parrell, I think he's a phenomenal fight. I think he's a really good stylistic matchup.
Jack, just here. Obviously, previously to this fight, you had a lot of bad blood with Josh Taylor, and there was no bad blood leading up to this one until, obviously, you've all alluded to what happened the other day. But yeah, it was a bit of a low blow, and I think as much as people laughed at that, Sam, I did feel bad for you. Just in terms of
don't worry.
Just in terms of that, no one knew that was coming. Okay, so in terms of that, was there a discussion afterwards? He tried to throw you off mentally before this fight.
No, I think you as a fighter, you prepare for fight week, but I think that goes with everyday life. Depends who you're with. If you're with Josh Taylor, then you know you're surrounded by a dick. If you're with Regis Prograis, he tried to throw a spanner in the works fight week, but I think I've had 30 fights now. I'm experienced enough to know to keep switched on and do what we need to do. So it was water off a duck's back, but it was quite funny because Sam got the backlash and I've had a few giggles since.
Right answer, God.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Sam?
I did say to Regis when he said that, I said the last win of your career is going to be against me, which it probably is going to be. No, look, yeah, it was a bit of a low blow, but we had a chat in the ring, and Regis is an unbelievable fighter, and a lot of people would have ducked out of that fight. Do you know when he rolled his ankle when Jack put him on the floor? Many of fighters would have probably said, "Oh, my ankle's sprained." He boxed like a warrior, and he said that Jack's the best fighter he's ever been in the ring with. That's the best compliment there. I mean, I'm happy to take a big a pasting at a press conference, and if it means Jack can win, I'm fighting that all day long. But Jack's the best 140 in the world. Yes, okay, yes.
Do you know as well? I haven't heard from Sam since the press conference.
Now you are actually lying here because I've got the receipts on you. I did send you a message afterwards, an emoji of you doing this.
Oh yeah, that was the only one.
Yeah.
But you haven't actually messaged me for 2 days, which is, I can't tell you how lovely that has been.
I don't know. You put
it. You know what I mean? 'Cause normally it's like FaceTime
we've
videos.
signed 2 amazing fights together. I've got you the best 140 in the world. You just need to be a bit. Send me some more drip.
Right, we've got 2 more minutes before we get slung out. Any more questions?
I've been rummaging on X.
Oh dear.
Just having a quick rummage, but I will blame somebody else in the room. Oscar, I think, is missing you. because he's tweeted recently, sorry Regis, Matchroom ruined your career.
Oh.
The worst matchmaking in the business.
Who said
and
that?
And follows up with, clap back, will be epic.
All right.
Any response to that, Eddie?
Oscar I mean, the only thing I can say about Oscar De La Hoya is he's got so much pain inside his heart. My thoughts and feelings are with him every single day. And I hope that one day he can find some happiness in his life. When we signed Regis Prograis, he headlined in New Orleans, defended his world title, made an absolute fortune, won. Then he had a mega fight with Devin Haney, made an absolute fortune. And then, purely down to Regis Prograis, I think he deserves so much respect for this. He chose to roll the dice in the UK against Jack Catterall. And Oscar De La Hoya is the biggest belly I've ever met in my life. If he don't respect fighters for trying to be great, because that's what he says he was always trying to do, then the guy is the saltiest man on the earth. And he has so much pain inside his heart. I hope one day, as I said, Oscar De La Hoya can finally find peace and happiness in his life.
We could fight his fighter, Ryan Garcia, but he's banned.
Yeah.
Come on, it's a great fight, isn't it? It's a great fight.
If Teofimo Lopez was watching this, if Teofimo Lopez was watching this tonight, what do you think he would be thinking? Do you think he wants to fight you?
That's a question for Teofimo, but we know that's an option, that's a fight. There's talk of him going to 147, but listen, we'd love that fight in Manchester, in New York, so who knows?
Jack, the 9th round, the 10-7 round, how important was that kind of momentum pushing towards this championship round?
Yeah, it was really important to stay switched on when you get to them 9, 10, 11. There's fine margins for mistake going in with world level fighters, so you've got to be on your game.
Jack, I just want to ask one more. After the career, what will it mean in 2025 to finally become a world champion for you, your family, for Jamie, for Nigel, for everyone?
Listen, we've got work to do yet, and we don't take nothing for granted. There's some great champions. Liam Parrell's a good champion, so we're training hard. We have a little break, we'll be back in the gym, and it's there, but I need to go out and do it.
Right, guys, it's midnight, and that's us done. Thank you for all your help and support. Well done, Jack.